Am I in China? Bonjour, mon petit chiflet. Amber here with a reading wrap up. I'm here with to share my July reading wrap up. July was quite the month as far as reading goes for me, but with the reading rush was in July, at the end of July, and also just I got a lot of reading done this month. For me at least. Usually I'll read like 4 tops books a month, maybe. This month I completed 7 books and got a good chunk of the way through an 8th book. Not quite 7.5 books, but I'm claiming it as 7.5 books. Let me live. So, and I will also say that majority of these books I loved a lot. Really enjoyed them. I was speeding through books this month, reading most of them in like a 2 days, 1 to 2 days. So I don't know what kind of roll I was on, but here's hoping it continues because I have a nice handful of chunky books to read in August as part of the Disney readathon. And then I think I'm done with the readathons for a little bit. But anyway, let's get into this because I have quite a few books and quite a lot of talking to do. I have some notes this time. So, the first book that I read in July was one I wanted to read in May. I wanted to read in May, then I wanted to read in June, so here we are, and that is Finale by Stephanie Garber, which is the final book in the Caraval series. This is the Owl Crate edition, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. I have had a lot of fluctuating opinions about this series. First of all, I'm sorry, without spoiling them, Caraval, if you don't know, is the story of these two sisters who are swept to this island as part of this magical game of Caraval, and this is the third one. I don't know how to describe series without spoiling the whole series, so I'll leave the link to the Caraval Goodreads bit so you can, it's whatever. So, as I was saying, I've had a lot of fluctuating opinions about this series. While it's not, I don't feel about it the same way I feel about a lot of my favorite series. I for the most part have enjoyed reading these books. They're fun and magical, and I just really like the world that it's in. I was kind of iffy about Caraval. I actually really enjoyed reading Legendary. I read this book, and I gave all the books in the series like 3 out of 5 stars. And this, like I said, this is no different. But this was more of a disappointed 3 out of 5 stars. And I have notes, and I kind of just want to read them as they are. I don't think they're too spoilery, but if you don't want to risk it, feel free to skip ahead. I don't mind, but I kind of want to read them exactly as they are. So, my first note says, starts off with Tella, which is promising because out of the two sisters, Donatella is my favorite. That's a lot of the reason why I enjoyed Legendary a lot more than Caraval, because it's told through her point of view. And I just find her more interesting. She's the braver, more adventurous of the two of them. This book also is told, I don't know if I mentioned that, I didn't mention that, with both sisters' perspectives. Scarlet and Tella. I keep saying both sisters, but I realized I haven't told you the other one's name. Anyway, my next note says, ooh, nothing like unwarranted girl hate. So yes, very early on in the book, we have a couple moments throughout the book where like jealousy flares up and were being overly critical and catty and hateful towards the other women in the book for absolutely no reason except for jealousy. And it's like, oh, we're still doing that in the year of our Lord 2019. Okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, it'll be unrealistic if you have characters and they don't get jealous of other characters at some point, but give me like a legitimate reason for it, or also have them acknowledge that like, oh, maybe I should calm down. Next point says, are we ever going to get an explanation for Scarlet's weird synesthesia and Tella's weird scent thing? I don't think that's spoiler at all because that sentence is very vague. But this is a question I had in the first book, a topic that was brought up in the first book, and it was explained. Well, half of it was explained. It still didn't make no sense though, and I still think it was a tad bit overdone. If you know, you know. But let's get into it. I forgot going into this book, I forgot just how annoying Scarlet is. Because like I said, Legendary, which is the second book, is told, it's through Tella's point of view. Scarlet's not in it a lot, so I had time away from Scarlet and I didn't miss her. I hate to say that, but I didn't miss her. And there's a situation that Scarlet puts herself in pretty early in the book. It's page 59 and it's literally the stupidest thing. Why? For why? No thanks. No thank you. That's all I can say on it without really spoiling too much about the situation she put herself in. I mean, if you've read the first two books, you know what I'm talking about because it is mentioned at the end of the second book, I believe. Yeah, anyway. So, still sticking with Scarlet, I just really wish, it says, I want Scar to have more aspirations than marriage. I just wish my homegirl wanted anything else out of her life than to pick which husband, which guy is best for her to marry. You're, what, 18, 19 years old? Please, Scarlet. Please, Stephanie. I deserve more than this. My next point is more like a technical thing that I just felt like some of this writing feels really juvenile, especially for the final book in the series. I think that's self-explanatory. Usually as the series progresses, an author's writing skill and style grows and progresses, and a lot of times with series, like my favorite series, like let's just say The Witchlands. My mom's smiling because you knew where I was going. Every time I read the next book in the series, I'm always yelling about how each book, the series gets better with each book, and like how Susan's writing gets better. Susan Dinner's writing gets better in each book, and I didn't have that with this, and I felt like there was a lot of regression with writing as well as characters, and it was disappointing. For a final book, we deserved a lot more. For example, page 69. Scarlet and Julian were immediately enclosed in one family-sized hug as the small clan poured out their gratitude. Their bodies were shaking and warm from the sun, and the youngest girl with the braids might have hugged Julian a little longer than everyone else, forming an instant crush on him. And just something about that just feels like something I wrote in middle school. Once again, both sisters need more in-game aspirations. We're in the middle of forming a plan to save the world, and you're taking the time to talk about your unrequited love, sis. Self-explanatory. Julian constantly calling Scarlet Crimson is too much. That's like a obviously it's a nickname, but it got to the point where he never called her by her actual name, and the way it was done was just, it was overkill. It's like we're past nickname territory. I get it. I got it. I get it. You guys are cute with your nicknames. My next point says, this is definitely more romance-based than fantasy, which is probably my issue. I love me a fantasy with a good romance in it, but this, I guess, is flipped, a romance with some fantasy elements in it, and I don't really read like super romancy romance books, so I guess that's kind of threw me off about it. Don't get me wrong, some of those romance bits were good. Like I was annoyed a lot with the relationships in this book, one in particular, but there are a lot of moments that were kind of swoony, and I'm like, oh, okay, alright, you cute or whatever. Scarlett's Scarlett's plot is such a side story and feels so unnecessary because her chapters are if I could read, that'd be super awesome. Because her chapters are so infrequent, so pointless, self-explanatory. I don't understand the point of having 2 points of view if they're not telling an equal part of the story. Does that make sense? And my last point is really not enjoying the I can't change him, so I'll change for him mindset. I'm gonna move on. That was finale. So after finale, I read shock of all shocks. I just said that I don't really read romance books. What did I read? A contemporary romance. Who am I? So I only picked this book up because the bookternet was collectively losing their minds over this book, and I gave into the hype, and I've misplaced my copy, so I'm just gonna put it here, and it is Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. Now this isn't a YA book, this is like a new adult contemporary romance book, and it is the story of Georgie Castle, who is a professional clown, first of all, and for basically all of her life, most of her life, she's been secretly in love with her brother, her older brother. She's like the youngest of 3 children. In most of her life, she's been secretly in love with her older brother's best friend, who has just moved back to town, former baseball star Travis Ford. I always want to call him Travis Scott, and I know that's wrong. Travis Ford, who was forced to retire after a sports injury. Here's me pretending I know anything about sports. Anyway, so long story short, somehow they get involved in a fake relationship, and like I said 14 different times, this is a romance novel, so it doesn't spoil anything by saying said fake relationship turns into more than either of them was really expecting, and oh boy is this book spicy. I didn't know what I was getting into when I read the book, but I will say, if like smutty books aren't your thing, just keep it moving. I'm actually re-listening. I'm listening to it. It'd be awesome if I could speak. I'm actually listening to the book again. Well, I physically read it the first time, but I'm listening to it now on Audible. There are a bunch of dogs on my television. Are those goats? Those are... Why? What's... Goats. I love goats. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. What's going on here? There's a glitch in the Matrix. For the most part, that 4 out of 5 stars is because I was surprised by how much I enjoyed the book. It's fun, and it's a quick summer read. I read it in like 48 hours, and I was gonna say it's fluffy, but it's not really that. It's fluffy and cute, but there's also some depth. You know what I'm trying to say to the book. and the characters, specifically Travis. And once we really started getting into his character, I really enjoyed him more. I really enjoyed their little dynamic. I mean, I could have done without him calling her baby girl every 3 seconds. I'm not really good with nicknames being overused. Clearly, this is the second book in a row where I had this issue. But I was pleasantly surprised by this book, and I don't know what else to say. Am I moving back into contemporary romance novels? I don't know. I liked Georgie. She was fun. Maybe I need to find me a sad boy baseball man. Who am I kidding? I can't pretend I know anything about sports to make that happen, but that's a thing. So after that, we went back very quickly to YA books that weren't spicy, but were quite bloody. And I restarted a series that I read the first book last year. I didn't love it. First, let me tell you what the book is. But I decided to give it another shot. I decided I wanted to finish this series. The final book's coming out in September, and because a lot of people love these books, and I just wanted to understand the hype. Again, this time I tried listening to it. It's Stalking Jack the Ripper. I keep saying it without telling you what book it is. Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I listened to it on Audible, and excuse me, honestly, this time around I really enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first time when I physically read it. So, Stalking Jack the Ripper is the story of Audrey Rose and Thomas Cresswell, who are these aspiring forensic scientists. It's a wild concept for Audrey Rose to be pursuing this life and career because this takes place in like Victorian England, and so it is unheard of for a woman at the time to cut open dead bodies and study them. It's unheard of a woman at the time to do anything but sit at home, gossip, and wait for her husband to tell her what to do. I'm going to move on from that. Anyway, so she and Thomas, along with her uncle, who they work under, who is like a, I guess, not forensic scientist, but like, at the time, that's the only word, title I can think of right now. They are working with Scotland Yard to solve the Jack the Ripper murders. This cut off. I finished talking about this whole book, and I realized that it had cut off, so I don't remember what I said. But so anyway, it's like this historical fiction romance. Well, yeah, but that's not what I meant to say. Historical fiction, like mystery. The first time I read it, I did not love it at all. I loved the concept of it. I thought it was very promising. I really loved the kind of like the feminist message that was the underlying story, basically. But I felt like there was something about Audrey in particular that rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like how she had to constantly remind us that I can wear dresses and wear makeup, but I can also cut open dead bodies. And I'm like, you know, actions also speak louder than words, and I prefer being shown and not told, you know. But that was when I read it the first time. Listening to it was a whole different experience. I think the narration definitely played a part into making it a lot more enjoyable. I was able to really get into the story and appreciate Audrey's character. I was able to really find that I really love Thomas Cresswell. First, before I go into the next book, I have to tell you the real reason why I decided to give this series a go again. And aside from just wanting to understand the hype and the Cresswell hype, Faye Crate has a hangover recovery kit for the final book in the series, which is Capturing the Devil, which comes out in September, like 2 days before my birthday. And if you don't know by now, I really love me a book box specifically curated for a particular series. and I also wanted the Thomas plushie, so here we are. I reread the first book, then I went on and reread Hunting Prince Dracula, which is the sequel to Stalking Jack the Ripper, obviously. And I just told you what this series is about, but this book picks up right after the end of the first book, when Thomas and Audrey have helped solve the whole mystery of the Jack the Ripper murders case, and they are on their way to this forensics school in Romania. Now it's being rumored that Vlad the Impaler, Dracula, is back from the dead and killing people in this little Romanian town, and Audrey Rose and Thomas Crespo are on the case, while also trying to get into this really competitive school where there are only 2 slots. So this book, I get shocked of shocks. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars because I enjoyed this one a lot more than the first book. I liked the new location that we were put in. I liked the town in Romania. This isn't in my notes, but reading this book made me really want to pick up Romanian and start studying it. Not that I have space in my brain to try to learn yet another language at the moment. I'm currently keeping up my French and Italian. I am trying to get a flow with German, and I dibble between Polish, and I'm missing one.
English.
That was rude. If you couldn't hear, my mom said English. Fine. Anyway, this time around in this book, I've definitely found Audrey Rose a lot less annoying. I found that I could relate to her a lot more. I feel like the situation she was put in as the only girl in this basically competition to earn this place in this prestigious school with a bunch of boys somehow made her more likable, if that makes sense. This is a problem I had with her. In the first book, I found her, like I said, constant I can like dresses and I can like science thing super annoying because it was us constantly being told. In this book, it was I don't want to be caged. You should put your own wants first. True. It's like, I mean, true, but like I said, show, I guess, with her actions and whatever, as opposed to always telling, you know? And that's just, I guess, like a writing pet peeve I have with this book. But that being said, I really do like that she doesn't let Thomas get away with any of his mess. Another tiny pet peeve with Audrey Rose is that I have to keep telling myself that in this book, without spoiling anything, there is some grief. She's grieving, but the way she reacts to certain things and switches from emotions is kind of annoying. It says, like, y'all just had this whole moment. You're on the brink of a full meltdown. Thomas is crying. I couldn't read my handwriting. But okay, this trapdoor though, not the time. Not the time, homegirl. But all that being said, like I said a couple of times so far, I did enjoy this so much more than Stalking Jack the Ripper. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I enjoyed my reread of the book. I enjoyed the audiobook. I just hit myself in the face. I felt like, despite my little complaints about Audrey, I feel like there was either some growth in her character or maybe she's just growing on me. I enjoyed learning more about Thomas and like what makes him tick. I do like the way their relationship is growing and progressing and how they communicate with each other. Communication's like a pretty important thing in their relationship. I was definitely more invested in this case than I was in the first one. I felt there was a lot more suspense and much higher stakes in this book, and a lot more actual action happening in this book. And I liked that there was more of a cast of characters in this book. And I really, really like Daciana, who is Thomas's sister, and I hope we get more of her in future books. So I have to actually make a point to go pick up Escaping from Houdini now, because I need to read it. Okay, hello. I am quickly hopping in right here because as I'm editing this video, it is almost an hour long, so I'm gonna cut this wrap up in half here. So thank you for watching thus far. Please make sure to come back when part 2 goes up. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon.